Pumpkinhead, Pumpkinhead. What can I possibly say about this series? It's a big classic. The first two films were neat, but the third and fourth ones wasn't taken very well. It had a bit failure of a game. I hope there might be a reboot soon, and if that's true, hopefully it won't be a failure like most reboots are. Before then, though, I aim to review all four films. If you want to see the game, YouTube Buny, yes, that's his name, who did at least 2 takes on it. I'm gonna go and watch the first film and then write down my thoughts. As I said, I might just show my thoughts as with my OCD. I wouldn't know where to even end the review. Nor will I know how to rate it. I have a very open mind and enjoy stuff many others would hate. I seem to sustain my thoughts anyways. We'll just see how this goes. But before I get started, be warned. I am going to show some death scenes. Now, I won't show everything, as in some horror movies it's too messy or just not out, or just right out not okay for the viewers. I might censor some, but the viewers just won't show. For what I do show, well, I'll always add, warning, some scenes in this film might not be intended for none of the viewers. If you proceed to watch, do so at your own risk. So that way you guys are warned if you have, let's say, a weak stomach or get tired easily. But then at you youngins. Well, I've been talking on enough now, so let's begin the video, shall we? Why am I getting a famous flashback? Wait a second. Weaving Hope. Oh, ha ha. I see what you did there, movie.
We heard a story a couple years ago about a guy who killed his wife and ate her just to get rid of the evidence. Yeah.
That's disgusting.
No, the cops found like her foot or something in this big pot with all these carrots and onions. It was like foot stew. You know, I think this was the guy too. This was the guy.
And he never shows up again. What a total waste of a character and story.
Come on, give it.
Jimmy Joe, you done bad. Y'all know what settles on bad ones, don't you?
Pumpkinhead. Pumpkinhead. Yo, stop. There ain't no Pumpkinhead.
Don't you just love when every film ever has random characters tell the main characters about the monster? Yeah, we need a way to info. But why always out of complete random before the monster even starts killing? Also, just saying, these are mean to another brother. I mean, what would happen if they see Pumpkinhead was real? Also, the thing they're singing, the credits mention inspired by a song. Are they singing said song? Okay, why leave the door open? That's not asking for. Oh yeah, that. He went and killed over, pushed his girlfriend to the ground saying didn't at all. Yeah, he's dead meat. Characters like these rarely live in these sort of movies.
We saw him. It was an accident. But can I help?
Answer: no. Did I say he was dead meat? Yep, he's deader than Jason.
This is as far as I go. You keep on straight. Follow this road till you can't no more. You come to a cabin, that's her.
How does he know where she lives? What, was he brought on a visit? Who brings he did to see her visit as he found her one day while hiking? But how does he know her name then?
Oh, hell no!
In the dead and within my power.
But don't you bring the dead back as Pumpkinhead? Heck, you clearly bring Pumpkinhead back from death unless he was just asleep. I didn't realize he takes blood from the dead, but why the son? One of the only times he uses blood from who the people want to avenge. And dead. Also, Elf, no, I am not going to cut my hand no matter how much I like Pumpkinhead.
Come back. I need you.
Steve. Steve.
Yeah. It's okay. I'm sure the boy's gonna be fine. sure his father's taking
You motherfucker.
I didn't eat. About 4 years ago, they tried to start a congregation up around here. It didn't work out, I guess. I figure it's a holy place, so it might not like it here.
So you enter these shorts full knowing it was never finished in hopes Pumpkinhead didn't enter.
Brilliant!
If it was never finished, then it never that deserves to become holy ground. Wait, are those slaves? Either way, looking at the date that says yep, now you're gonna die, and all I gotta say is this.
Run, bitch! Run!
It's a flap. It's a flap. It's a flap! See, that's why I do on you. Why they say they always fall for stuff that is clearly a flap? Also, how mod is Pumpkinhead? He set up a flap and took off the motorcycle saying, I gotta say, that's very mod and clever. A plus to this monster. He knows how to get his victims. Oh yeah, now this should get epic.
Wow. Fail.
This was good to rewatch. And as usual, head is wanting to ease back to normal. Let me start by walking you through the story. When the film opens up, we see a family seemingly aware of something bad going on. We soon see why as the guy runs up to the door begging for help, but the father won't have any of it. Forcing the dad to just one, but he ends up getting taught anyways. Cut to a few years later, we see the main character named Ed and his son, as well as a pet. We see how close they are, which, knowing the film, can only mean the worst. The rest of the main cast shows up at what I guess is the family's door, and we see the motorbikers. As they start riding them, we can only guess what happens. I gotta say, it's well and very heartbreaking to see a kid getting hurt and was dying, especially in his father's arms. Out of the 4 films, this is totally the worst thing that happened. Well, we'll get there in film 3. The teen stared, well, one of them anyways, runs off and it is very peed off. He goes to a guy we saw not mere minutes before and asks him about an old lady. Lucky for him, the son knew exactly where she lived. Long story short, he digs up Pumpkinhead for her to wake up and start killing the teens one by one until all are dead. She mentions a terrible price, which as we see later, Ed starts seeing and feeling the chills, and Pumpkinhead even started to get his face. Only time he ever does that, by the way. Ed starts wanting to tell Pumpkinhead off after realizing what he did, but it proves hard to do. Only when he is killed will Pumpkinhead finally stop. Not a very detailed explanation, but trust me, it would be too long and boring if I tell you every last detail. Plus, don't want to spoil too much. I hate spoilers. The kills aren't messy, nor are they too creative. But they do shine in showing how much like a monster inside of Pumpkinhead acts at times. Just look at when he presses one door's face into a window. That seems childlike to me. It's toying with the teens, having fun before he kills them. In the sequels, he says outright kills them. But do have a feeling that's too high. You'll see in film 3. Anyways, the design of Pumpkinhead I really like. And before you ask why he resembles the aliens from the same named film, the guy who made the suit also made the xenomorph suits, so he used part of their design. Let me ask, by the way, why don't we ever do stuff like this anymore? I mean, look at how real Pumpkinhead looks. There's no CGI that I saw in this nor the second film. It's all animatronics, robotic parts. This is extremely well nowadays. I know CGI is fun to use and you can do amazing things with it, but sometimes it's better to just use the old classic ways, you know? Or use a mixture of both. And before I forget, don't use pointless sunk stairs. Why do they use the sunk stairs sound effect in scenes that when Ed's dog popped into the scene? That's not scary, it's annoying. Now this scene right here, this scared me as a kid so much. Ain't it odd how when you're young something scares you a whole freaking lot? But as you get older it doesn't bother you anymore. In fact you enjoy the stairs. When I was young, I was terrified of Pumpkinhead, Seti says it and many others, but now I enjoy the films. Pumpkinhead even became one of my favorite monsters, and I do want to write an official film or book. If only. Back on the film. Did you ever notice there's only 2 titles? Yeah, I never noticed it myself until a reviewer mentioned it. Till my mom talking. Yeah, I never noticed it myself until a reviewer mentioned it. But there's always either a blue-headed scene or orange. Blue for noble and orange when stuff gets real. Also, the old lady, is she left alone out of fear? We say he feels of sorts, and everyone seems to know about her. How does the kid named Bud know where she lived, by the way? Don't want to know that. Also, we didn't answer as to why nobody wants to help. If you as much as tell them where to hide, you would get marked for death too. We see more of this in later films, but if you did it in this way, Pumpkinhead kills you, just flat out. Let me talk about the scenes. Somewhat really too like the old broken down swords or the pumpkin patch where Pumpkinhead was buried. Also, it was stated the pumpkin patch was where you bury kids that are, I forget the word. So was Pumpkinhead originally a deformed human? Not sure, but I do want to know how him being buried in that mushroom-shaped hill. Not sure what to call it, but it's still he was given a special part, and I do wonder what was going on before he was first buried here. The farmers, as I'll call them, they seem very poor as heck. I mean, just look at these two. They look like house elves from Harry Potter and those. I already recall in the opening scene they're supposed to be Christians. I think almonds would have fit better, but they wouldn't thrive anything but horse-farm terraces. And I don't care what you say, if they wanted to, they could march up and the Manhattans to leave or just chill to stop the whole thing. But again, out of fear probably, they don't do anything. Pumpkinhead himself, he just looks amazing. Before seeing him in quick glimpses in the opening scene, but never see him fully until much later. In fact, I want to say film 2 is the only one out of the 4 that doesn't outright reveal Pumpkinhead too early. P.S. If you hear anything, it's my mom and her TV. At least here it's quick glimpses and only a dark silhouette. Anyways, we see him as a baby, I believe one of the makers calls it. The only time we see this baby Pumpkinhead in the films. Although in one video they only fought him as enemies. In his voice. Creepy. We never did any info on Pumpkinhead, but that's not really important. Will the reboot, if it happens, explain them? No idea, but it should probably be left unexplained unless you can make it fit really well without hurting the monster. Which he was called a demon, by the way. Pumpkinhead and Ann seem to be fusing together. And as I said earlier, sees every tale in the native films the one who summoned Pumpkinhead even feels how people die. But it has the reverse effect of when Ed is hurt, so does Pumpkinhead. And it is the only way to stop Pumpkinhead. You gotta kill his human host, basically. I don't get why he thought it did Ed's face, though. Later films never brought that back, but it did in film 3. I have a theory I'll explain when we get there. By the way, I don't think those sorts should be wholly drowned by the date it's in, but Pumpkinhead clearly seems... I'm not sure how to say it. He seems to be alert and moves with tossing, it seems. He even gets mad at seeing the clothes and breaks it. So this was still holy after all, but not enough to where he came into it. Also, at the end we see Hades, the witch, burying Pumpkinhead, but he's wearing Ed's necklace. Either she placed that on Pumpkinhead, or Ed after death fully torn into Pumpkinhead. Which is what the terrible price might have been all along. Now this sort of hurts my theory about why the baby Pumpkinhead is only in film 1. I thought it was because film 1 is the only time Pumpkinhead succeeded in killing his target. In the opening we see him about to kill his target, but we dip to the present before we can see it. That was the only time Pumpkinhead was never killed in the 4 films. I thought because he succeeded, he turned back to this baby date to await his next summon. But now that I think about it, whatever happened to who summoned him? I'm sure it's the same Pumpkinhead we see in film 1, 3, and 4, but he says using a different host to take this form. I do believe there is more than just one Pumpkinhead, but we only ever see 2. I'll go ahead and say this. Film 3 and 4 tie in with this one, but in film 2, Well, fans take it as a different canon altogether. I do not, and will fly to explain when we get there. Last we know Pumpkinhead. Why didn't he kill the last teen of Bud? Well, the last teen he says seemingly breaks his back. Maybe he wanted the last door to see him and feel terrible and sad? I don't know, but the Pumpkinhead in the last two films would never do this. Let me talk a bit on the teens now. Can't remember their names at the moment, but the one in the black jacket, he said something about getting in trouble before, and as he has Bill with him, the thoughts might think he was when hitting his son. Let me ask, do you ever hate a character so much you want them dead soon and painfully? But when they do that, you feel sorry for him? I did with him. I mean, he forces his girlfriend in the car, unplugs the phone, and uses wood to knock one of his friends out, locking him and his girlfriend up, just to avoid getting in trouble with the cops. My God, and Celeste, what is wrong with him? He should have been the first to die. Yeah, later he came around wanting to make things right, but by then Pumpkinhead already killed his brother. He was about to turn around, but now it's too late. He was right all alone and blah, blah, blah. Let's say he never had a redeeming scene. No, well, at least he was trying to do something good before his death. So he got sort of redeemed, but not really enough outside of just feeling sorry for him and the others. The other teams are sort of forgettable, by the way. There's really no character building for them outside that one I already talked about, and the survival door. Sorta. They needed to add more scenes to build the characters up so the death would feel more tragic and such. Yeah, one is a Christian too, but we know nothing at all about her besides that. For all we know, details were already on the one and didn't know it. It doesn't have much character building either, but we do understand fully why he did what he did. His son was killed in what is basically a hit and run. Maybe that one guy didn't want off like he did, tossing others to follow, who knows. We see Ed is angry at the teens after seeing what happened, and as I said, it's understandable. He doesn't want them to get away with murdering the only person he had left. We never see his parents as an adult, so assuming they're dead or moved away. His wife seems to have died when their son was very young. Maybe at childbirth? If you were in Ed's shoes, you would feel so much sorrow and rage, wouldn't you? Later on, after the killings start, we see Ed immediately regretting what he did, which we clearly saw him doubting and having guilt enough to imagine his son coming back for a split moment asking, "What you do, Daddy?" Whether it was really his son's spirit or not, point is he was already feeling extreme guilt. He did decide to kill himself after seeing when he gets hurt Pumpkinhead does. I do think shooting himself like this was stupid though, as, well, you see how it's pointed. And as I said, didn't need a lot of character building either, but does have the most. Anyways, the other characters are forgettable as well, besides Hadis and Bud. I want to know more about Hadis. Recall when I said I want to write an official film of Bud? I have ideas for her, as well as adding together a really cute scene with two Pumpkinheads. Yeah, I got a solid idea how to add two of them at once. I will explain in film too. Anything else to talk about? Not really sure. There isn't much to talk about as the characters don't get enough build-up, no character at all. Question though, why did Hadis take blood from Ed's son? Is that why this is the only time Pumpkinhead started to change faces? Not sure. I know this film isn't anywhere close to perfect nor even good, but I do enjoy it as well as many others. I mean, it was such a creative story and a very interesting monster. They should add Pumpkinhead to Mortal Kombat like they did with Flame. I mean, come on, it's a golden idea to add him to Mortal Kombat. Oh well, maybe one day after the reboot he'll do a thing that isn't terrible. Let me wrap this up in a few last words. While this film did age a lot, it's still a good classic that deserves to be seen by anyone who enjoys horror movies. If you ever happen to close it, do yourself a favor and give it a watch. Heck, you can find it online. I downloaded the copy I use here off of YouTube. You can find films on YouTube, but some you will need to pay for it. Not all though. There are sites you can find films on, but won't say which in case it gets me in trouble. But you should be able to find this film on eBay or something. Just watch it if you can, it'll be worth it if you're into this sort of stuff. Well, that's about it. See why I don't want to tell these reviews anymore? I'm not a reviewer. I just have my thoughts and it's more like a podcast than a review. If you stuck around long enough and are still there, then thanks for watching or reading. I should improve as this series goes on, but for now I just hope I did alright. As for my next Let's Talked About, we'll see. It will either be the very first horror film I ever saw, or Pumpkinhead 2 unless I go for a fantastic Mashed episode. As for Pumpkinhead 1, it was a nice start and do hope new films are made. Here's hoping they don't have plot holes like the last two had. Now if you excuse me, I've been meaning to get to Star Wars The Force Unleashed too. Don't know if I on these mode, so wish me luck. Until next time, see you in my next video, and thank you again for watching. It means a lot to me you stuck around this long. Till next time.